Good evening. The views and opinions of guests on this program, Adventures into the Strange, are not necessarily the views and opinions of the host, staff, crew, or parent company, Go Shield Entertainment Group, LLC. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the program.
And we're back, and I said we would be. And we have with us today the illustrious Richard G. Medlock. I finally found out what G stands for, and I'll let you know later in the program right before we close so I can nail him with it. Okay, take it away, Richard.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to stick around that long then. I think well, get my stuff said and I'm out of here. So welcome everyone to World Reality. This is a program where we educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower and promote free thinking. We stick to the facts, ladies and gentlemen, and we give you things that only liberals can think up. It is amazing. We can start every program now by quotes from liberals that are just off the wall, okay? But Tuesday afternoon, a couple of things happened. One of the things that we talked about in Tuesday's program was the minimum wage. We'll get to that because a couple of articles came out that afternoon after the program. The other thing that happened was Hillary baby Clinton had a so-called press conference. Well, it was staged. She was asked by one reporter like 4 or 5 questions. It's boom, 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 boom. And she just rattled off comments. They weren't really answers, they were comments. And one of the things, well, and I look at that because most people are laughing at that so-called press conference. Most people, and I've been in this position, somebody asks you a question with 4 or 5 parts. Most of the time, you don't remember all of those parts. You start answering and you forget, and you have to go, okay, what was the other thing you asked about? But no, not Hillary, honey. She just sat there, boom, 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 rattling them off. It was staged, it was comical, and everybody's laughing at her, except her beloved followers who bow and scrape to her. They get their prayer rugs or whatever they get on to worship her. So, but it's interesting. Hillary, sweetie, you made the comment that you wanted to, the Secretary of State or the State Department, get all those emails out there. Let's get them out there. But, well, why don't you tell them to? Well, they're not my emails, and they have their own process, da, 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 da. Now, this is right after a judge told the State Department, get them out there, but you have till January of 2016 to get them out there. So it's a government thing. But she says, get them out there. Well, Hillary, sweetie, I got some questions for you that they didn't ask the other day. Number one is, if you want the emails out, why did you delete 30,000 emails? Hillary, honey, if you want the emails out, why don't you go ahead and turn over your servers, your multiple servers, to the investigating authorities? And Hillary, hun, why don't you, you said you wanted the American people to see all the great accomplishments you made for the American people while you were Secretary of State. Well, Hillary, sweetie, why don't you release the documents on Benghazi? Why don't you release the documents on Fast and Furious? And why don't you release the documents on the IRS? Why don't you release the documents on and on and on of things that you were involved in? I would like to see you release the documents, Hillary, sweetie, on your communications with Vladimir Putin and how and why our relationship with Russia went down the tube with them. So please, Hillary, sweetie, get us the information so we can stop asking the questions that are tough questions that you're not going to answer, and that you keep hiding from the American people or anybody trying to investigate you. So quit hiding behind excuses. Now, more and more every day, her narrative is getting shot all to Hades. It has just been blown up. She might as well just come out and confess everything. She's not going to do that because in the Clintons' world, they make their own rules and they live by their own laws that nobody else gets to live by. So come on out, tell us what's going on, and let the American people decide for themselves. But your narrative is gone. Blumenthal has now released emails to Trey Gowdy that shows he emailed you after the Benghazi attack and said this was an Al-Qaeda attack. It had been planned. Boom, boom, boom. Had nothing to do with the video Innocence of Muslims. Zero.
Richard, I have to step out of the office for a minute. I'm having some severe technical difficulties. I've been hearing things on your end, so go take care of it. All righty. That's Hillary, honey. Now, let's go back to some so-called real people. I don't know if he's real or not. He comes up with all this. I think he's a robot myself. And whoever's programming is trying to win some comedy awards or something. But Tuesday, I told you that Obama commemorated Sunday as the International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. Well, Vice President Joe Biden was out also speaking that day. And Joe Biden made an interesting comment which offended every Christian in the world. Joe Biden said Bible-believing Christians violate LGBT rights by simply existing. So folks, there's only one way to take that, is that Joe Biden wants all Christians to go away, to not exist anymore. Well, maybe that's why the Obama administration is not trying to fight ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all those in the Middle East now, because they're killing every Christian in their path. Maybe they want ISIS or the Muslim Brotherhood, or maybe just Muslim Islam itself to rule the world. I mean, I don't know how else you can take this stuff, and you can go read what his full comment, but Joe Biden just basically said that Christians, because they follow the word of God, are condemning LGBT. Well, guess what?
That's what God did, and he still does. And he does condemn them. So that's how we're starting the program today. So you can tell that I'm on fire today. And I'm not sure, again, I have all kind of stuff prepared, and we'll see where we get to. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to start out, or at this time, remind you that this weekend is Memorial Weekend. It is not a holiday to just go play. There's a specific reason why we have this holiday. And this holiday is to honor our veterans, those that have gone on before us and those that are serving today. And we're going to do a couple of other things during the show to honor them. There's no way, and Tucklow is a veteran. I don't know if he is back. He's
Yeah, I'm back.
all right. Tucklow is one of those that we need to honor. The men and women that have put on the uniform, that have sacrificed, some of them their lives, and others their limbs, so that we can sit here today and broadcast without fear, that we can say what we want to say and voice our opinion. And there's nothing that we can do that never served to pay these people back. There's nothing. But we can still honor them and respect them. And I feel for those, I really do, that abhor the military, and the Clintons are one of them. They're part of that group. The Obamas are the same way. I really feel sorry for them. They truly do not understand humanity. They do not understand the human spirit. They do not understand man's desire to be free, to have his liberty, to be able to make their own decisions. They don't understand that, and by any right, they don't want to understand that. Now, they want their freedom, but they do not want others to have their freedom. So anyway, but Veterans Day is coming up, Memorial Day. Take some time. If you don't have a flag, go buy a flag and fly it. If someone in your family or your neighborhood or your church or wherever you have friends, if they've served, call them up, send them an email, let them know you appreciate what they have done for you and for this country. It will brighten their day, and it will lift them up. And those that are serving today, we're standing fully behind you. We really feel for your plight because of this government, this administration that doesn't want to support you, that they could care less if veterans get taken care of, those that are wounded and sick. They could care less. We're going to change all that. And it might be sooner than later, ladies and gentlemen. So take some time. Do it today. You don't have to wait till Monday. Do it today. Let these people know, these veterans that put their lives on the line, that you really appreciate what they've done for you, your family, and for this country. All righty. Let's go to the economy. At Tucklow, do you want to say anything about?
No, you did a very superb job of illuminating what you're thinking. I'm hoping that the phone call I made solved the problem, but we lost the East Coast, not where you're at, but on further east, northeast. And I think it's back. Are you hearing popping and crackling right now?
No, that's gone away now.
Okay. We had some outside interference, and I'm not going to say who is doing it, but they have an alphabet heading.
All righty. The XYZ agency.
Yep.
And, earlier I mentioned that, we can do what we're doing without fear. we do it without fear, but there are those out there that would like to stop us. And, you know, you can keep trying, folks. You want to keep coming after Americans that want to be free and exercise their right to liberty. You can keep coming after us. You're going to pay a price. So that's our warning. That's our warning and our stance. We're not going to back down. We really aren't. We're not going to give up. Yeah, the FCC knocked us off for a few weeks with their net neutrality ruling, but you see, we're back, and we have our full audience back, and we're getting our radio stations back. So
yeah, it's really strange. Now they've stepped it up. There are some other folks biting the dust, even as we're on the air right now. It's all about control, folks. It's about them being in control and us regular normal people out here not having any control. And, as George Washington said one time, that the American citizen should never fear their government. The government should fear the American citizen. They're our servants. We're not their servants. And they've forgotten that.
And they want to forget that. They want us to be afraid of them. And what he's describing there is tyranny is when the American people are afraid of the government, and anarchy is when the government is afraid of the people. And it's really not anarchy. It's the way it should work. And we try to live by the rules. But the government, they just make up their own rules and do what they want to do. And in the last 6.5 years, we have just seen that it just paraded perfectly. They have no shame in Washington right now. I was asking myself a question yesterday. We have Mitch McConnell, we have John Boehner, we have the Republicans in the House and Senate passing all these bills that Obama wants. We have more Democrats up there fighting Obama right now than we do Republicans. So I'm scratching my head going, wait a minute, who's who anymore? Mitch McConnell and John Boehner are giving Obama everything he wants. That's not right, folks. We should be giving Obama nothing. We should be taking away, not giving to. But that's not what is happening in Washington, D.C. It's upside down, folks. And I'll repeat it again. This country and the principles of the Constitution will not be preserved and protected and saved by Washington, D.C. It's going to be you and I. It's going to be the great American citizens that know and understand this country and the Constitution that will save it. And that's why they do not want to teach the Constitution in the schools. They do not want to teach history. And they do not want to teach patriotism. And this is why God and country, Pledge of Allegiance, national anthem, and all of that is under attack. 10 Commandments under attack. There's a purpose in that. They want the younger generation to forget all that, not to understand that. We talked about this over and over. It is scary to go talk to millennials.
Yeah, they don't have a clue.
They don't have a clue. And it's scary what they say. Just real scary. All right. How much time to break?
About 5 minutes. We'll know. We'll get a notice.
Okay. Let me start on the economy. Several things. The stock market's been basically flat this week. It didn't know what to do. More and more negative economic news keeps coming out. But again, the market is driven by what the Fed is doing. It's not driven on the fundamentals of a corporation. And that's the basic way to look at that. But the other night we talked about the minimum wage and going up to $15 and so forth, and what happened in Seattle. Well, that afternoon, about 2 hours after we got off the air, here comes an article. The city of Los Angeles City Council approved going to $15 an hour minimum wage. I think to 2000, they have to be there by like 2018, but it would immediately go to $9 an hour. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we keep harping about the negative impact this has on the economy, and not as much the economy as it does on those employed. We're talking about people that these lower wages. This is not, they normally don't live alone. They live with a family so they can survive, or with other people. And this is, most of them, not where they want to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. So what is happening is, and McDonald's has done this, but the good employees or employers in Los Angeles turned around and said, you know what, that's fine. We'll just go to more automation. So that equates to jobs lost. Now, is there a mad method here on the part of liberals, knowing that more people are going to lose their jobs? The answer is yes, because the report came out today that in 2014, the federal government spent just over $100 billion in food assistance in America. Not only America, they're going to Puerto Rico and other places. Puerto Rico, I should say, okay? So $104 billion to food assistance. Now, this also includes school lunches, school breakfasts. A lot of schools now have school dinners. I mean, it's amazing. And so they're taking away from parents the right to say, oh, I want to feed my own child, or I'll send the money to pay for the lunch, etc. But anyway, but going back to the minimum wage, here's the reasoning from the liberal side is the more people laid off, the more people end up on government assistance and become dependent on the government. And because they're dependent on the government, they tend to vote more on the liberal side because they don't want their free lunch taken away. So you sit there and say, why can't they see the light? They see the light, but it's to their positive end, not to the positive end of the employees or the American people. Does that make sense? Because that's what it's all about. Has nothing to do with helping people make more money. Because the numbers that show, the number of people at minimum wage in this country is around 3 million people. All right. So now we're going to a break so Tucklo can do his magic stuff. Don't go away.
And we're back. I need to answer a PM I got about why I could make a phone call and all of a sudden increase our clarity. Here's the way this thing works, folks, just so you understand. This probably won't be the last time I explain this. If you have to make a circuit when you broadcast. Most people do not know that. Now, most people know about uplinks and downlinks on the internet, but it works the same with live radio. We have 17 stations right now that simulcast with us, and so they'll either broadcast the same time we are, or they'll record it and broadcast later. Well, we have 3 on the East Coast, Northeast Coast, that simulcast anytime we broadcast. They're small independent stations, and I shared with them how to get around some FCC regulations and get their streaming working. Well, evidently, some government agency took exception to what I did, and so they interfered on that end. They can't really interfere on my end, and they probably gave up trying to mess with Richard because he's just like a snapping turtle. He'll grab hold and not let go. So I'm having to educate a couple or 3 radio stations on the East Coast that are student run on how to get around this stuff. And so that is what the problem was, and that's how I got it resolved. I didn't want to imply I could make a phone call and tell the government what to do. Nobody does that, except unless your name's George Soros. But anyway, let's get back to the program. Richard, take it away.
Thank you. Speaking of George Soros, he paid or was supposed to pay all these professional race baiters and riders to go to Ferguson and Baltimore. And guess what, folks? He hasn't paid them yet, and they're mad.
I read that. I like to laugh myself sick when I read that.
I said, these stupid people. That wasn't part of the show today. Let's move on. All right. The other day, speaking of Mitch McConnell and John Boehner and Joe Biden and Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi, the leadership supposedly in Washington of the House and Senate, went to lunch. They wanted to discuss more things that they could do to help Obama and the progressive pinko communist way of life. So, yeah, you knew I was going to get that in, right? Pinko communist. So anyway, they sit down at the table, and John Boehner notices that the salt and pepper shakers are mixed up, that in the salt shaker is pepper and in the pepper shaker is salt. So they start discussing, these are the great minds, ladies and gentlemen, the great minds in Washington, D.C., how to resolve this problem. And they kept putting ideas out there and talking about, okay, how can we do this without wasting any or spilling it and getting it all switched back and forth without making a mess. So this is what they came up with. And it included a napkin, 2 spoons, a straw, and an empty saucer. So their server comes over, and they thought they would regale her with their brilliantness. And this says, we have this problem, the salt and pepper shakers are mixed up. And she goes, oh, I'm sorry about that. Grabs them, unscrews the lids, and switches them. Problem solved. Okay. The point of that is This is how they solve problems in DC. This is how they solve problems in governments, whether it's national government or state governments or local governments. I mean, just look what they're doing in LA, what they did in Seattle. Seattle's getting ready to backtrack that. They're $15 minimum. And we'll see what happens in San Francisco when it takes effect here pretty soon. Just a little story there. Okay, folks. I started in Boy Scouting as a Cub Scout in 1958. Went through, became an Eagle Scout, served in scouting up until 2011. As an adult, I worked on national level, local level, etc. It was a great program. Now, a lot of my scouting friends that are still involved are going, Medlock, what are you talking about? Well, they know what I'm talking about. And the scouts have now come out, and they had a restriction, and this has gone for years, that you could not play paintball or have paintball competition in a scouting organized unit, okay? I can understand that. A little safety aspect there. But now the Boy Scouts have come out and they've made a new ruling. Now you cannot have a water gun or a water balloon fight. The reasoning behind the water guns is a scout is kind and should never ever point any type of gun at anybody else. Now, folks, we're getting absurd here. They're simulated arms. Folks, how long have there been water guns? My whole life. We used them as kids.
Well, I guess we better not point our fingers at anybody either, but go ahead.
Yeah, don't point a finger. And they came out with other things that you can't use, that they've used over and over and over, that kids just play with. Folks, it's crazy. Now, here is the best quote that I've seen, and I just lost it. Where'd you go? Here's the best quote. This is from Todd Starnes. Don't be surprised if the BSA bans campfires and replaces them with simulated flames on portable smartphones. Can't risk the kids burning their marshmallows. That's the best one. All right. So this goes back. Why am I bringing this up? Folks, this goes back to the either dumbing down or womanizing America. Okay, you can't play dodgeball in school anymore. You can't play Red Rover anymore because it's physical contact. You run through the line. They don't have gym in schools, so the kids aren't taking showers together. And what does that matter anymore? With all the transgenders, the schools are going, oh, bathrooms, doesn't matter. You go where you feel like you want to go. And of course, parents are upset over this. They're about ready to hang some school officials. But anyway, school officials don't care. They're liberal, pinko communist anyway. But the Boy Scouts, okay, that's fine. They're doing away with water guns and water balloons. What about the Girl Scouts? What are the Girl Scouts doing? Well, we can take the Boy Scout thing, putting it into perspective. This is what the Girl Scouts are doing. They're now allowing any boy that is a transgender that tries to live his life as a girl can now join Girl Scouts. Now, I'm going to give you some information about Girl Scouts. And I guarantee you, I'm going to get, people are going to try to get me in a lot of trouble. But these are the facts, folks. This is from their website, from their leaders. This isn't me making this up. And you want to know what's happening with all of this. This is from lifenews.com. Girl Scouts join Planned Parenthood at huge pro-abortion conference. Now, this isn't the first time. In Georgia, 11 and 12-year-old Girl Scouts have gone out and stood in picket lines carrying signs for abortion. Yes, mothers and dads, this is what your girls are being taught in Girl Scouts. And you wonder why Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts are losing numbers. It's because of these crazy decisions. All right. The CEO of Girl Scouts is Anna Marie Chavez. Not only is she the CEO, but she is a big member of World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, WAGGGS. Now, this is a group run by the Lesbian Association of the World, or whatever it's called. And they're out there promoting to these young women things like pro-abortion, youth abortion. Here are some topics at their last conference. Outing and addressing abortion stigma. Why I perform abortions. Now, these are from doctors and people like this. They're also associated with Amnesty International, Guttmacher Institute, International Planned Parenthood Federation, which we know is the largest performer of abortions in the United States, Marie Stopes International, Planned Parenthood Federation, again, that's the United States. The other one was international. United Nations Population Fund, and of course, WAGs. Folks, this is our youth. Do you care about your youth? I'm going to say this outright, especially young girls. If you have young girls, get them out of Girl Scouts. They're being indoctrinated into being lesbians. They're being indoctrinated that if they get pregnant, go get an abortion. Now, you think I'm overreaching? No. I've had friends who had girls in Girl Scouts, and when they found all this stuff out, they were out of there so fast it wasn't funny. When they found out that on the board of Girl Scouts of America, it's actually Girl Scout USA now, that most of the board members are lesbians or belong to lesbian organizations. Now, if you don't care, if you're a sectarian, a secularist, an atheist, if you believe in let people decide who they want to be, let them choose their own sex, that's fine. Go rock and roll. But if you have a daughter in scouting, Girl Scouts, I'd get them out. Now, like I say, I'm going to take a lot of heat on this, and I'm going to stand up. I'll go out on the town square and preach this. This is how important it is to the future of not only our youth, but to the future of this country. The Pico communists are doing everything they can in their power to indoctrinate the young people in this country that morals don't matter. Go do what you want to do. Be whatever sex you want to be, whatever sex suits you best on that day and time. It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. And choices, with all of our choices come consequences. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about consequences. I think the people that listen to this program understand those. If you don't understand them, email me at moneytalkradio@gmail.com, and I'll give you enough information that it'll blow your mind. We don't have enough time on this program. All right. I told you I was on fire today. So, watch out. Tucklow, you have any comments?
No, I think you're doing a superb job.
All righty. Yeah, are there a lot of things going on? You betcha there's a lot of things going on. But when it comes to our youth, and we're talking about girls from 8 years old to 14 and a little bit older, 8 to 14, they're being indoctrinated with this garbage. They're also being indoctrinated that there's no God. Is that what you want for your daughters? The Scouts and the Girl Scouts in 2000 gave in. The Boy Scouts didn't, and they still have duty to God in their oath. But the Girl Scouts caved in. They took duty to God out of their oath in 2000. Well, guess what, folks? I haven't bought a Girl Scout cookie or eaten one since. I've had people offer them to me. Here, have a Girl Scout cookie. No, thank you. Ain't gonna happen. Now, am I radical? In some people's eyes, I'm a radical. But you know what? I'm gonna sit here today and tell you I'm a correct radical. And if you want to challenge me, that's fine. Let's have a debate. But you better come prepared, because I'll knock your socks off. All right. Looking at the clock, gosh, we're almost up on another, almost to another break. I want to, when we get back from the break, I want to throw something at you, Tucklow. Yeah. I don't know if you saw this about Clay Walker.
Nope.
I'll read.
I don't get out much. Go ahead.
Yeah, he lives in a cave, so what can I say? We get back. I want to run this by you real quick because it probably affects some people that you know in the music industry, and we'll cover that real briefly, and then we'll get into excuse me, the economy and a couple other things. Well, the economy is going to lead into other things before we go. Thank you, veterans. We're going to a break.
John F. Kennedy said, "Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other." At Empower Training Group, we take John Kennedy's counsel very serious. As a leader, you are striving to be the best at what you do and help others do the same. But a leader cannot stand still in knowledge or effort to accomplish those goals. Our course on sensible leadership is designed and structured to brighten your path and stretch your thinking to maximize the already leadership skills you use every day. Empower Training Group is not limited to leadership training. Our developmental courses are a diverse selection to educate in improving communication skills, team building, team management, how to become a leader or manager, and train the trainer. We develop the courses to meet your goals and expectations. We direct our instruction to your specific audience or employees' needs, and we are not limited to those courses listed above. Empower Training Group also instructs and certifies in health and safety courses. These are OSHA-approved courses to prepare your staff and employees for emergency situations. We can also arrange to conduct these courses online. Information on Empower Training Group can be found at www.richardmedlock.org or email at empowertg@gmail.com. Richard Medlock says, "Leadership is not about power. Leadership is about empowerment."
And we're back with Richard Goober Smack Medlock.
Goober smack, huh?
Yeah. Well, you like peanuts, and I know you kiss them all the time, so I had to put that out there. That's your true middle name.
Yeah, hey, I eat peanuts and cashews all the time. So my favorite though is chocolate covered peanuts. So all righty, Clay Walker, country music star. Let me just read it, and Tucklow, give me your opinion here. Clay Walker keeps close watch on where country music is, was, and is headed, and he doesn't like most of what he's seeing. While the singer has previously stated he's encouraged by the future of the format, he doesn't like watching classic rockers turn to country for their next album of hits or originals. After telling the Modesto Bee that there's never been a better time to release an album, the 45-year-old Walker blasts country's newest group of first-timers. I can't stand to see outdated rock and rollers coming in to play country music. That really pissed me off. The Doobie Brothers, Motley Crue, and most recently, Aerosmith's Steven Tyler are among those who created country projects in the last year or two. We have great singers, great country musicians, Walker says. There's no reason we have to dilute it by letting people in the format that don't have any business being in the format.
Well, I will make a comment, and I'm liable to end up getting skinned alive for this. I agree with him, and I'll tell you why I say that. Folks that truly know me know that I'm a blues guitarist, and I've played with anybody and everybody when I was younger, including Steven Tyler. Steve Tallarico is a friend of mine. He's a phenomenal vocalist, and he's got about as much business going into country music as I do trying to become an accordion polka player. You know, it just doesn't match. And I'll tell you another thing. I have a friend, Barry Poole, that everybody else knows by Cletus T. Judd, and he's a big Luke Bryan friend, and I'm not. Cletus and I disagree on stuff a lot. I don't think rap has any business in country music. I'm not a Colt Ford fan. I have caught heat over this statement due to the fact that I have friends that write music, like Michael Smotherman, Richard Fagan, that do country music, do pop music, anything else. Well, folks, I need to tell you something. These guys do sing and they're songwriters, but the key to the deal is they are songwriters, and they'll write all over the spectrum. But when they perform, Mike Smotherman was in he was in a band called Buckwheat that was early rock and roll back in the 70s. Excellent band. He played with Captain Beefheart as his keyboardist, and he's too discreet when he says playing with Captain Beefheart was absolutely horrible because the guy couldn't sing and it was a giant fraud, you know. Well, there's the deal I'm trying to point out is, and I'm not a songwriter, I'm just a studio musician. It's hard to transit from one to the other if you're a performer. And I'm not a public performer. I have before, but with me, it was just lay the sheet music down and I'll play whatever's written there. It wasn't about me trying to be creative or anything like that. So I guess you could say I was a studio hack. These guys shot their load more or less in their certain genres, like Tyler's a rock and roll screecher, what I call him, and yeah, he's an excellent vocalist. Kid Rock, you know, basically rap and rock pop music, and then he's trying to do country. That's as absurd as a buddy of mine, Billy Gibbons, everybody knows him as ZZ Top, trying to be a country music performer, and they're actually in the process of doing that right now. And Willie G, if you're listening, don't do it. That's being stupid. You guys have more money than Ben Gump. Why would you want to just try to keep going? And I think it's hilarious that these guys are in their 70s and still out there trying to rock and roll, you know. But sooner or later, you got to retire. But that's my take on it. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay, I mean, I just wanted to get your take on it. You know, I thought those were some pretty strong words from Clay Walker, and, you know, not being in that industry, you know, I'm just sitting there going, wait a minute. So I threw that out to you. You know, there's been a couple of people, of course, one of them was Darius Rucker. He went from Hootie and the Blowfish and then went to country and has done very well. And, but a lot of his stuff, his what do you call it? His style didn't change that much. He just went to Nashville and has done very well, but he wasn't an old rocker. Okay. He was in pop. And I think as we look at him, it was more of an invitation that he received from country to come be part of that organization. So,
well, there's a big difference between Darius Rucker when he was with Hootie and the Blowfish and now what he did. Come here, and you hit on it. You know, he was in it, but look at Tyler, man, for his my age. Hell, we've been friends since we were kids, and he's a little young man. He, you know, trying all of a sudden to reinvent himself. I'm get around with that old woman glasses on and his hair when he fell on, and has no embarrassment over it whatsoever. And Tyler's got he's got a boatload of talent. He does. But it's kind of like Joe Walsh out of the Eagles. You know, the Eagles did a country album. You know, Joe Walsh is basically a blues and a rock guitarist, and he's a pretty good songwriter when he wants to be. But they're tour right now. Make Oklahoma City tonight to hook up with them. My stuff I had to hear. It's just mixed the genres. You mix the type of music. But don't just go from screeching on a stage and bounce around half naked to all of a sudden put a cowboy hat on and think you know what there is that comprises kind of music. It just doesn't work that way.
Yep, cowboy hat and chaps doesn't turn you into a country singer. All righty, Tucklow, thank you for your input. That I know I just kind of threw it at you. But you're in the industry, you know what's going on. So appreciate those comments. Okay, let's talk about the economy before we go to the top of the hour break, because again, more negative news is coming out. 40% of unemployed have now dropped out of looking for a job. 40%. They've given up. But, we have this great economy and the job market is stabilizing and okay. 36 states in the United States are saying we still feel like we're in the recession. 36 out of 50 states. Now, this is not the people in the state. This is the government in the state. This is a big tell here. We talked about the 100 billion last year in food assistance. April existing home sales were down 3.3%. They're not, it's not getting any better out there, folks. Yet we talked about the other day that new home permits are, new home permits and starts are increased. That's not sales. There are builders out there, they're finding money and they're betting on the come. And in the next year or two, we're probably going to see another mini bubble, and these guys go under again, and the banks are going to own empty houses again, homes that were never lived in. So another mini bubble on the way. U.S. leading indicators increased 0.7% with a caveat. With a caveat. Because they only use 10 indicators, not a whole bunch that they use on the GDP. And a couple of those moved pretty good, but the rest of them were either flat or went down. But when they come out and say, oh yeah, it went up, but catch on here. And also, we've got to be careful with government numbers, because now they're coming out, people are saying that next week they're going to give us a revised first quarter GDP number. By all rights, it should go into negative territory. Some people are saying they're going to fudge the numbers and make it go up, just to give us another false flag on the economy to make everybody think, oh, everything's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of hard to convince people that are living paycheck to paycheck that everything's okay, that are now working 30 hours a week where they were working 40, that have lost their life insurance, or they're having to pay more, or health insurance, or that are having to pay more with a higher deductible than they did before Obama took office, before Obamacare kicked in. It's really hard to tell people in those situations that, hey, it's really good out there. For 36 states to come out and say, we still feel like we're in the recession. That's not good. The Philly Fed index dropped to 6.7% from 7.5%. We're seeing these Fed indexes, you got the Philly and the Chicago and the Dallas and San Francisco, they're all going negative. They're all going down. So again, more negative news out there that's not helping anything. Now, I'm going to pull up real quick if my computer, my computers today, it's not really the computers, it's Google. Google's just not wanted to cooperate the last couple of days, and they get like that. Even for Lulabelle to complain, it's got to be bad. So I'm trying to pull up the market and see where we are. It's up 4. It's up 4. It was down 25 yesterday. It's not going anywhere, folks. The only thing that's moving today is oil. It's up $1.46. Back to $60.44 a barrel. Now the market won't be closed until 4 o'clock Eastern time. So it's still going on, but
You there, Richard? Well, it appears we have lost my host. Let me see what I can do, folks. Don't go away. I will. we will see what happens here.